So today I have a super exciting review for you guys. Okay, so I just finished Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. If you haven't read the series, you guys need to go. Definitely right now. And if you have only read The Darkest Minds, you need to pick up this book now. If you're very hesitant on just how the way it ended, you need to pick this up, like, now. Like, go pick this up and just devour it. I devoured it in about 5 days. And this book is 507 pages. I read about over half in 2 days. Yeah, so you need to pick this up. And if you have read The Darkest Minds, you guys should definitely go watch my Darkest Minds book review. I will have it on the book right here, also in the description below. But if you guys haven't read Never Fade, you need to go like now, because I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, so bye guys! Months later, and they're in the field, and this huge explosion is going on. They're fighting, and they're at a laundromat, which is pretty interesting. But Ruby is getting the memory out of this guy, and she figures out where number 27 is. We're trying to find him, and Rob is telling them to stay where they are, and then this huge explosion happens, and then fighting happens, and then her and Vita are outside, which it all really happened really fast, but still intense. And just that scene, and through the whole time I thought it was the side people who set off the explosion. I wasn't thinking about Rob. I was thinking that he was already gone, but I don't know why I didn't think Rob. Like, it would have been really obvious. So we got Vita be outside, and they see it, and she's like, that's number 27. I don't know how I know, I just know. And then she goes, and she pulls the thing off the mask, and it ends with him saying, do I look as pretty as I feel? And so our mind automatically goes to Liam. We're like, Liam, he's in the story, he's in it, and he's gonna be in this, and it's about them training together. That's it. But later on, we figured out that it's Cole. Now, I had completely forgot about Cole, and I completely forgot about Cole. You know, he was nothing. He was just anything. And at first, I didn't really trust him. I was like, okay, so you're kind of sketchy. And then but then he kind of like saves her butt from Rob, and then, so, you know, everything's okay with him, and I'm like, okay, so I don't like you, but I kind of do at the same time. I'm on the fence about you. And then we have that shower scene, which was freaking hilarious, and I was laughing and dying the whole time. I got kind of scared. I thought he was, like, kind of creepy through the whole thing, and it scared he scared the bejesus out of me. Let's just go with that. He scared. Oh my gosh, I got so scared with him. He tells us about the flash drive, and how Ruby needs to get the flash drive, and how there's stuff about the IAN, or the IAAN, I don't know how it's pronounced, on the flash drive, and we need to get it. So he got her a mission, or an op, to go and fight. And so her and Jude break out of the op in Boston, and they're fighting, and you know, all this happens, and we get to see Jude use his powers in control. We get to, you know, have him control his powers. Now, back in the camp, we can kind of sense there's a little tension between Ruby and Jude, and I was kind of curious if something happened or not, and, you know, there's kind of tension, and we get him, you know, freaking out, and he's like, you know, I heard Rob and Jarvin talking and all this stuff, and he was freaking out because he thought he was gonna die, and I was just scared for him, because he's this little 14-year-old boy, and he's so innocent, and he hasn't been through a lot, and it's just I can't handle this right now. So we get them, and they're in the train, and then Vita pops up, and I was like, oh, she's bad. I don't like her. I was definitely on the fence about her the whole time. I would like her, and then I would not like her, and then I would like her, and then I wouldn't like her, and I was just on the fence of her the whole time until we get to the scene at the camp after all this stuff happens, but I'll talk about that later. So Vita pops up, and then he electrocutes her, she's passed out, and then they sneak away and they go to Liam's house. She's ready, and then Chubbs is hugging her, and he says, "Come on, Liam," and we think that Liam is with Chubbs. Turns out he thinks that Liam is with Ruby, when really it's Vita and Jude. And I love the little tension between Vita and Chubbs, and I don't know why, but I pictured Chubbs throughout this whole book like a bulky person. He wasn't chubby anymore, but he was like bulky and like muscular and stuff. Like, that's how I pictured him through the whole book, and I have no idea why, but I did. And I kept forgetting that I kept picturing him like 25, and he's really like just 19. Like, seriously, Aaron, come on. But so we get them on the road, and all this stuff happens, and they end up in Nashville, and they are at the East River. They're at East River with Knox, and you know, he's kind of a pervy little creep. I don't like him. He scares the bejesus out of me. He is a creep, and he's insane, and he's a creep. So yeah, and I don't like him, and so they're thrown outside with just Vita inside, and I was like, okay, you're a perv, and you're creepy, and I want to punch you in the face. Leave her alone. And they're talking to Olivia. Now, Olivia plays a big part in this scene area, and she's talking, and she's like, "I'm sorry," and she was saying all this stuff, and Ruby like looks at her, and she's like, "Who are you talking about?" And she's like, "Liam," and Ruby books it to the white tents, and she stands there, and she's looking, and she sees him, and it's like they're the only ones in the room. She goes running up to him, and he kind of remembers. He's saying some stuff about the memory, and you know, he's talking about the scene at Walmart, which happens to be my favorite scene. And he's talking about Zoo and all this stuff, and they go to the warehouse to get some supplies. And they're talking and stuff, and she flips out, and she, you know, she storms in there. She's storming in to the warehouse, and we're like, yeah, go kick his butt, yeah. And then what does she do? She talks to him. She's like, "So you should let me go hunting." And she's talking to him, trying to convince him, like, seriously, use your freaking mind power and get into his mind. Seriously, Ruby, you have those powers for a reason. So he's like, off, and he sends them away, and they're stuck in the little cage thing, and we have like Spooky Jude coming up and like popping up out of nowhere and just like talking to them, and he's on his mission, and it passes, and they have to go fight, but they're not fighting each other. Vita and Ruby, they're not fighting each other. No, what they're doing is they're fighting Mason, and I was scared for their life. Like, I felt like I was in the ring with them, and Vita got hurt, and I was freaking out, and Ruby was freaking out, or like Ruby got hurt, and I was freaking out, and then like it both clicked. When Ruby figured it out, I figured it out, and it was like I was in the ring with her, and she did all that stuff with Mason, and Knox, Wes, whatever the heck his name is, freaks out, and he starts freaking out. She's like, "Come down here," and after he shoots Mason, which was really sad, and I felt bad, but you know, she sends him down here, and she sends him away along with the other crazy people, but Brett stays. Now, I really liked Brett, and during the warehouse scene, you know, okay, so Ruby becomes all like big and bad and like, you know, I'm leader now, and they go to the warehouse, you know, doing all this stuff, and she sees the stuff, and she's getting all this stuff, and Michael comes out of nowhere and just stabs her in the back, literally, and scene breaks out, craziness, you know, they're doing all this stuff with guns, and I was afraid that Jude was gonna go out, and like, while he was all electrical, he was gonna go outside, but luckily he didn't, which was really smart of him, because he would have died. But they're running, and my favorite scene in the warehouse, or in that scene, would have to be, they're not in a warehouse, they're at the airport, but it would have to be when Brett is like, Olivia, and she stops and turns around and he kisses her. That's so cute. Probably not the best time to do it, but yeah. So we got Ruby and she's bleeding out and she's running and they're all running away and she ends up going this way. And I don't understand why she just didn't keep running until she passed out, but she just sat there and she just sat. Like, I would have just pushed it until I couldn't push it anymore, like until I literally passed out running, but she just sat there. And next thing we know, she's in the arms of a guy, an old guy, who is turning her in to Rob. And I freaking love that scene, by the way, when she's in the back of the truck. But I love how she described the way the muzzle went on. And it just, that whole scene, it felt like you had the muzzle and you were suffocating with her. You were freaking out with her. And it was just, intense. It was just intense. And you felt like you were there and you were kicking and then you were like telling them to go away. And that whole scene with Rob was insane. And I'm so happy he's dead now. So happy. He was a psychomaniac person and I just don't like him at all. So now we have Liam and we hear him in the background freaking out like, is she okay? 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 And we find out that he's okay. And she wakes up and it's like deja vu and she's waking up and she goes outside and she leaves without her boots and she's crying and she's on the deck crying at the falls and we know Liam's gonna pop out and you know he's freaking out because she's crying and he's like, what can I do to help? And then he kisses her and then they pull away and he kind of just stares at her and then she tells him that she's part of the league and then he flips out and then he is like yelling at Chubbs and they get in a little argument and I love how Vita pops out and she's like, oh, would you guys just shut up and go back to spooning each other? That was freaking hilarious. And then they're fighting and then Liam storms off and Chubbs is just staring at Ruby. Ruby's sitting on a stump. She's like, you really think he wants me after him this time? Like, come on, Chubbs. Think he's obviously upset with her, but that was awesome. I thought that was funny. And so Chubbs calms him down and they take watch and Liam and Jude take the first watch and then it's Chubbs and Ruby and they're talking and it's just a really sweet moment between Ruby and Chubbs and it was super cute. And then Ruby decides not to go to bed and so she has this really sweet moment with Vita and you really start to like Vita a little bit because she, you know, she's telling her all this stuff and she's being super sweet and you know, you see her softer side. She's like a donut. No, she's really hard on the outside but really soft on the inside. And I really enjoyed her character in this. And I don't remember how old she was, but you really get to see the softer side of her, along with her hard and snarky and just hilarious side, and I freaking loved her. She was again amazing. Just hilarious and snarky, and always had some funny remark. But then, you know, they go to bed, and she wakes up, and Vita is throwing the stuff in Chubbs' mouth, and Ruby starts freaking out because she doesn't know where Liam is, and so she goes and chases him, and they have this intense moment in the, like, gas station where he's talking to her and he's like, I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I love you. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but I love you. And he's just saying all this stuff and he's like, and you won't even look at me. And then she looks up at him and they start kissing and then they start making out. And then somehow she starts thinking about those memories and somehow she pushes them away. It's like drawing the curtain away. Either she draws it away or she pushes the memories back into his mind. And he starts to remember and he flips out. And, you know, Chubbs comes and he's like, oh my god, I saw you guys on the ground. And he flips out and they go into the gas station, him and Chubbs, and they start fighting. And then there's that moment with Vita and Ruby, and they're on the chatter, and they're talking with Kate, and you know, they're like, oh, it doesn't sound like her, it doesn't sound like her, let's prove it. Later, Gator, and then they come back with After a While, Crocodile, and that's when they know that it's not her. Like, you know, she already implants in our head that, you know, this is her saying this is something, and you always remark with an hour sunflower or whatever they say, you know, it's already implanted in our head because we've said it enough at the beginning of the book, and it's kind of just in the back of our brain, and we see that and we're like, wait, that's not, what? Wait, that's not Kate. And so they go to Colorado, and they go into a Dairy Queen, and there's Clancy. Like, I thought we got rid of him. I thought we were done with him, but no, there he is sitting there. And I don't know why she didn't shoot him. I would have just shot him, but I mean, I guess I can kind of understand, because then we wouldn't have gotten the file. But I just we wouldn't have gotten the file. Still, the whole time in the back of my mind was just like, shoot him now. He needs to die now. And through this whole time, though, I was hoping for some sweet moment between Ruby and Liam. You know, just kind of you know, let's sit and let's talk about this, and let's come up with a resolution. And, you know, let's talk about this, let's talk about our feelings, let's talk about what, all this stuff, you know, they needed to have a discussion about what had happened. And, I mean, I can understand why she did it, and I understand why he's upset, and I'm not really on sides, because I understand why she did it. I'm thinking about it, and I probably would have done the same exact thing that she did. I probably would have understand where he's coming from, though, because he lost his choice, and he lost, you know, all this stuff, and I side with both sides, because I understand what he's going through, but I understand what she's coming from. So I don't know how I feel about this situation, because I understand, but, you know, the whole time I was just hoping that something would happen. But we get there, and they're going through the tunnel, and they're about to go through the door, and Liam puts his hand on her waist, and she spins around, and they have a little moment of kiss, and he's like, give him hell, darling. And I was having a heart attack, and I was like, oh my god, that's so sweet. And then Vita has to come in and, you know, be like, and don't get shot again. I love her. And just this whole intense thing happens, and Clancy isn't Clancy. It's, you know, it's in his mind. And so we get this thing where we're thinking, you know, was he actually there the whole time? Was he really there? Or what, did he just make everybody think that? And then it all just wear off until it was just Ruby. Or, you know, when did he escape? How did this happen? What happened? And so we're trying to figure out, you know, about this stuff. And she goes and she finds him, and this huge fight comes out, and we figure out that Cole comes up out of nowhere, and we're like, you know, at this point we don't know if we can trust him or not. We think we can, but we're not sure, because it could be the whole Clancy thing. I mean, through this whole book, you know, I didn't know who to trust. I wasn't sure if I could trust Vita, or, you know, if I could trust Kate, or if I could trust anybody. But we figure out who we can trust in this book, and, you know, of course we can trust Chubbs and Liam and Jude, and we can trust Vita, and Vita ends up really a great character, and we can trust Kate and Cole, and, you know, especially when he's like saying that he wants to shoot Clancy. But anyway, we get to Clancy, and he's looking at the file, and he burns it, and you know, but she puts it out, and Jarvan comes up, and they're fighting, and there's a white noise, and then Cole pops up out of nowhere and kills all of them, and he ends up being a red. What? Like, I did not see that coming. I kept thinking, in the back of my head, I kept thinking, you know, wouldn't he have a power too? Wouldn't he have a power? Doesn't he have something? But I'm like, no, he seems too old for that. And I don't know, but I wasn't shocked that he had a power. I was just shocked that he was a red. And, you know, we have this thing where we think Reds are crazy, and we think that, you know, they're insane, and they go insane, and they're just not human, you know, they're described as animals. But Cole is so put together, and he's so just himself, and he's, you know, he's, like, it's as if it hasn't even affected him, and it's just like, oh, hey, look, I'll light a match, and then, boom, my arm is on fire. Like, it's just insane, like, but we figure out we can trust him, and he makes his speech. I love when we put him in the closet, Clancy, and we're, like, leaving him, and we're like, bye, like, see ya, sucker, it's your fault, you're stupid, and then he pops up, and we're like, what the heck, like, come on, really, 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 but, you know, there's the whole time we're standing there, and we're hoping that, you know, they have this talking, and we're like, oh, it's gonna happen, they're gonna talk, but, Kate leaves, Cole makes his speech, and he says something, and then he looks at Ruby, and he winks, and she's just standing there, and Liam pushes off the wall, and he, like, stands up, and he's, like, all jealous, and then he leaves, and he's like, well, then I guess I have nothing to stare to you. That, like, I physically felt my heart shatter. Like, I don't know how many times my heart had shattered through this book, but that was it. That was the end. And then what happens? He comes up and he flips out because his brother's hand is on his girl's shoulder. Like, I may be mad at you, Ruby, but keep your hands off of her. Keep them off. Paws off. Mine. I'm mad at her, but away. Boom! Explosion. Like, they're talking, and then an explosion erupts out, and she tackles Nico and is, like, protecting Nico, and Vita is protecting Jude. And out, and when I'm, like, I was reading that, and I'm like, oh, Ruby's out again. She's always unconscious in this, like, I swear. She's always, always unconscious. But, so she wakes up, and they're running out, and they go through the tunnels, and they're climbing out, and, you know, they get out, and they're sitting there, and, you know, Ruby and Liam sit, and we're like, oh, this is it, this is the fight, or this is where they talk, they make up, and they have a sweet romantic scene, and everything is better and hunky-dory. But no, she realizes that Jude is missing, and she can't find Jude anywhere, and this was just heart-shattering for me. But this is where the cover comes in. This is where we understand. So they're gone for about an hour or so, and they're just sitting there, her and Vita, and they're just sitting in silence. And she hears footsteps, and she pops up, and she sees Liam, and he runs, he puts her away, and we hear Vita in the background saying, you know, I know, don't bother. We have Liam explaining it, and she's freaking out because she feels that she could have done something, and, you know, she's the leader. She could have, you know, helped him, and she could have done something about it, but she didn't, and she feels so guilty about this, and I felt so bad for her through the whole scene. And, you know, she's freaking out. She's like, he doesn't like being in the dark, he doesn't like silence, and, you know, she's freaking out through the whole thing, and hands her the compass. And this is where the cover comes in, and I didn't, like, it didn't occur to me that it was a broken, you know, compass, but here we have the broken compass, and it comes in, and it plays in, and so she's staring at this broken compass, and her heart shatters, and she understands why, you know, Chubbs and Liam wanted to go find him. But Jude is dead, and that was probably the most heart-shattering thing I could feel, and I can understand, because there's so many of the bad guys died. We need, you know, there always has to be a balance with the bad guys dying. There has to be at least one good guy die. I was kind of hoping it was Cole, though. I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping Cole would die, because he's not Jude. But Jude is dead, and it's just heart-shattering, and she's freaking out, and then, you know, we get these papers coming down about how it's all the league's fault. And then Clancy comes up and is talking, and he's like, you know, talking about the cure, and, you know, and he's all proud of himself too. He's like, I destroyed the files. Don't worry, guys, I saved us. we're okay. We have our powers. And then Ruby comes out of nowhere, just pulling the papers out of her pocket. She's just like, oh, you mean this research? And then it ends. It just ends. And you're like, wait, what? That's not how it's supposed to end. No. What? 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 No. What? So I'm so excited for the third book. What I think will happen is, oh, okay, so throughout the whole book we get Vita and Chubbs kind of bantering at each other. You know, they're like, they start off like hating each other, and then they sort of kind of start liking each other as friends and stuff, and you know, they're kind of like freaking out, and she calls him less names, and then, you know, we kind of get the sense that something's gonna go on there, and the whole time I'm rooting it on. I'm like, Chubbs and Vita, Chubbs and Vita, Chubbs and Vita. It would be perfect. They'd be so funny and so fun and just like the perfect couple. So in the third book, I'm really hoping that they actually get together. They admit their feeling for each other and they get together. And I'm also hoping that Liam and Ruby have that moment that they need where they come to an understanding and everything's just hunky-dory between them again. I'm also hoping that they find Zoo, because Zoo's in California with them. They're all in California, just in different parts. So I'm really hoping that they find Zoo. Hoping that Clancy dies and his dad, and it would just be a miracle. And I don't know where this book is going. Like, I can't tell where this is going, where this series is going. It might have to do with the cure, but it might have to do with the government. I can't see where this series is going, and I love that. I love not knowing, and you're just anticipating for the next book. And I'm so excited. We don't have a name. We don't have a release date. We just know that it's going to come out in the fall of 2014. But we don't have a release date or a cover or a title. So I'm so looking forward to that and seeing what the sentence is going to be. The darkest minds never fade. What? That is it for my review. Let me know some of your favorite things. What are you guys hoping for in the next book? What are some of your favorite scenes? What are you most looking forward to see? I think I'm most looking forward to see just what happens with everybody. I am so invested into all the characters and just everyone who's a part of it. I'm so invested in all of this, in the story, and I can't wait to see what happens. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye!